How long do I have?
30 minutes. We are in live, ma'am.
Right.
A very good morning and afternoon and evening in diverse nations. From the greetings from DMI-St.John the Baptist University, Malawi. We proudly organize international virtual conference on innovation science, engineering management, and science. We are in the second day. Thank you for being with us for second day. Today with us, Associate Professor Dr. Muhammad Sharif, Professor, University of Putra, Malaysia. She is well versed in the artificial and chatbots domain. She has completed nearly 7 grant projects, and she is working with the 5 industrial projects. Now is acting as the Dean of Computer Science in University of Putra. She is going to be given the keynote on the topic of weaving IR 4.0 in the education through learning analytics and chatbots. So this topic is very useful for the this century. So you can clarify any doubts with him through the chat box. The first day of the conference, from the different venues, we completed 60 papers, and today we have remaining 40 papers. Followed by this session, we're going to be carried the paper presentation on different venues. Thank you for with us, ma'am. Now your session.
Right, I'll start now. Thank you very much, Mr. Raj. Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me around. So it's very far from Malawi to Malaysia here. It's around 3 p.m. But I hope that you are all ready and energetic to listen to my presentation. Today, I'm going to share with you about learning analytics and chatbots, which is very in line with the IR 4.0 in education. My name is Nur Fadlina Muhammad Sharif. Please call me Fadlina. I'm from University Putra, Malaysia. I'm currently attached to the Faculty of Computer Science and Information Technology at the university, as well as the Deputy Director of Innovation in Teaching and Learning at the Center for Academic Development, University Putra, Malaysia. In my current scope of work, I am in charge of the innovation in teaching and learning, specifically on e-learning for the university. And coincidentally, I also got this project on AI for education. My main research interest revolves around machine learning, text mining, and recommendation system. You can see many logos at the bottom of my slide here. These are all the affiliations that I had in the past. And I have several grants also through various projects working with them. Please feel free to visit my website. You can scan the QR code, or you can just search my name in the Google sites. In today's talk, I'm going to share with you about 4 things, starting with learning analytics, and then going to the personalized learning. Then I'm going to introduce to you about ISPERL and Cikgu AI Bot, which these are the output from my current project on AI for education. And I'm going to share with you some of the opportunities for you to pave through in AI for education. Well, as an instructor, it is our dream to become a super educator. At least when people ask, what is your superpower? I teach, and that's my superpower. Well, the quest of becoming a super educator is actually a high demand job, because as much as we want to be able to convince our students and make sure that students acquire the knowledge that they need to acquire, we have to also try in our best to make sure that they are engaged and at the same time got what is expected of them. However, one-to-one tutoring is untenable. It's going to be very demanding. So all of this begs the question, how can we make positive impact of one-to-one tutoring available to all learners across all subjects? And this is exactly where AI can be merged with education to improve the learning experience today. On the right side, you can see this is the model on AI for education, where the emphasis is on three parts: the learner model, pedagogy model, and having AI through data analysis. Let me start with the 5 characteristics of intelligence. When we talk about intelligence, there are these 5 basic notions or components or criteria about artificial intelligence. It starts with linguistic intelligence, where the ability for a software to be able to understand what is being spoken to them or what is being written verbally or written on the text. Then the software and intelligence software should also have the ability of perception, which is the process of acquiring, interpreting, selecting, and organizing sensory information. Just like a human, where we have our sensors with our eyes, with all our 5 sensorial, and the intelligence system also has their own perception. Another important criteria of intelligence is problem solving. A human is able to solve complex problem by taking some path and by doing some actions. And similarly, an intelligent computing or intelligent software needs to have this ability as well, besides learning, which this is where machine learning is important in making sure that the software be able to get better and gain knowledge or skill over time. A software that has the ability to reason, which enables for it to make auto judgment, autonomous decision making, and prediction, indicates high intelligence level as well. Based on these 5 characteristics of intelligence, I now introduce to you about learning analytics for us to scope into education, which by definition, learning analytics is the measurement, collection, analysis, and reporting of data about learners and their context to understand and optimize the learning environments. There are 4 types of learning analytics that can be executed, which are descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive, with the explanation as shown on the right side of my slide. Let us go through deeper on the existing works on learning analytics. I have annotated this paper according to advantage, things that we can improve, and things that we can do further. Based on my study on the literature, there is a gap between technologies, the solution that technology in AI can provide, with what is on demand and what is needed in the education. Mainly, if you look in to improve, here it is said that current learning analytics lacks the theoretical orientation that assists the educators to be able to make sense out of the data. So from this, we this is the posit of my current work, which is to be able to marry both, so that the education and learning can really get better through learning analytics. Let's look into the data, the type of data that learning analytics can use. This is divided into activity score, the grade, the course completion, the quiz attempts, the choice of materials, time spent, and progress taking. And the benefits of learning analytics are to be able to explain unexpected learning behaviors, identify the successful learning patterns, introduce appropriate interventions, and also to increase users or students about their own actions and progress, so they can always get better, and instructor know how to scaffold and how to give feedback to the students so the students can be guided to get better. These are the examples of learning analytics dashboard available, where you can see that again with this all illustration, we can use the existing dashboard to see the performance of each of the student. But mind you, based on my discovery, all the existing learning analytics dashboard focus on grades and as well as the analysis of the access of the students to the learning management system. Mostly are categorized based on these 2 types. If we look into the perspective of learning analytics to develop early warning system, so we can predict who are the at-risk students, the questions or the focus are as shown on the bottom right here, where the existing works looks into the algorithms and features to best predict the end of term academic performance by comparing algorithms and by processing and coming out with better algorithm. So here you can see that I am highlighting that many works in technology is available, and this is in line with another discovery from another paper which says in learning analytics, the computer science field actually tops the other kind of works in learning analytics. So if we recall several slides that I have presented just now, it is found that many works on learning analytics from the perspective of technologies look into the technology itself, but the question of whether the outcome from the learning analytics can really useful, this is where my talk try to merge these things, paving IR 4.0 through AI for better education. In this slide, you can see the principles of my study. Learning analytics for personalizing learning design. So instead of going one size fits all, we want to remove this because we know that students have individual differences and they have various needs. And we want to look into more than purely data. If we recall on the learning analytics from the technology perspective, we look more on the data because it is understood that data analytics empower data and data is more important than learning. However, with this study, I am trying to balance between the data and turning the data into insights and something that the educator can take into action. So we can imagine having this flow from capturing the data, reporting the data to the instructor and the students as well. Then the system will be able to predict and give recommendation to the educator. The educator can act and refine all this learning design. So this is based on this statement, designing and applying personalized learning activities to improve students' performance and learning progress. The personalized learning concept can be attributed by these 5 elements. Better learning experience recommended based on preferences and competencies. It must be relevant and surprising, timely and well-aged content. It actually teach the teacher on what their students like and what the students don't like, what actually works for their learners. And of course, it is a learner-centered design as well as boosting student engagement. Imagine if we have something like a Netflix, but specifically to help us get better and get better educated. This is an illustration of dynamic personalization that relies on algorithms to create image of their potential customers. We can tune this to become personalizing learning for the students. In the literature, in the area of personalized learning, there is one concept called personal learning path, which is an approach that emphasizes on learner-specific goals related to the objective and the preferences of the learner, as well as the manner which they demonstrate the competency of the objective. It also may refer to the path that the learner elects on their own after assessing the knowledge of a subject. So this is a new definition that I give to you. At the same time, students have their own expectation of features on learning analytics. They indicate that they wanted to have further learning recommendations besides all other analytics. They also wanted to have recommendation of learning for successful course completion, and they prefer self or independent, or we can look at it also as a tailor-made learning experience compared to the conventional setting. Now, let's look into the techniques of personalized learning. There are 4 techniques. First is the adaptive learning, where focusing on the technology to assign human or digital resources to the learners based on their unique needs. The second technique is individualized learning, where the pace is adjusted to meet the needs of the individual students. The differentiated learning concept is an approach where learning is adjusted to meet the needs of individual students. So you can see that these are quite similar, differentiated learning and individualized learning. But competence-based learning indicates on the learning pathway based on the learner ability to demonstrate certain competency. All these are related to my previous works on recommendation system. I've been working on recommendation system for quite some time already. But previously I have worked mostly on movie lens data and recently on stock data. And my work have been recently on on the reinforcement learning method. However, I see a gap in trying to tailor this advanced machine learning algorithm with the education perspective and with the learning perspective because actually the data is scattered. I wanted to do computer-driven adaptive learning, which is the branching of learning path based upon the responses that the student makes. Imagine that the system can understand what are the students' achievement and the system can suggest and can adaptively give recommendation to the students. This is where personalized learning takes the next step. And personalization algorithm influence what the learner chose today, what the learner have chosen yesterday, and tomorrow. Based on the literature, there are several approaches available. For example, in this one, they look into the users or the students' learning style, the mastery learning, the time limitation, and the knowledge background for them to be able to generate the sequence and for them to be able to recommend to the student. And this is a survey paper. This slide now, I'm showing to you an existing work on a case-based planning for e-learning personalization. Let's start on the top left. Here, this is the case-based planning step in an application called My P Tutor, My Personalized Tutor, where this is embedded and integrated with Moodle learning system. And the approach of this can be also explained with the figure if you see on the right bottom, where there are 4 steps. First, starting with plan retrieval, the learning plan retrieval, and then adapting the plan according to the needs and the achievement of the student. And then the lecturer can revise it. Here, you can see the lecturer or the teacher can validate the plan and updates the case base as a feedback process, and then returning this and storing this to give back to the students. This approach is called case-based planning because it uses some rules. And the outcome of the that they will give to the student is like this in figure 5, where each of the student will get different time plan or learning routes. And at the behind also, there is this setup where the teacher has to select the goal, select the course, the background preconditions, and adapt through some planning services. And they can also monitor their performance. That approach, the case-based approach, is called as rules-based personalization, which require human-derived rules and must be explicitly programmed into the software, such as here. And the learners are grouped into cohorts, and each cohort has its own route, and tell the program the different routes for each student, but the number of routes are fixed, and the algorithm does not do any learning, but has to be tailored by the lecturer, and it can also be seen as standard clothes sizing and provide limited routes for the students. Another system, another LMS that allows this is by Brightspace, which state that they also provide some condition for the learner, and also create some release condition based on this competency set, and the student as well as the lecturer can track what is the achievement of each of the student according to each of the content. In Moodle also, Moodle is a very well-known, one of the well-known learning management system, and Titus Learning provides this as a competency-based learning plan where we can set up the competency, we can set up the rating, as well as the scale for each of the competency as a predefined learning plan. And this learning plan is useful if there are selection of competencies over multiple competency framework. This also shows the steps for us to set up the competency. And for the student output, the student can see the competency breakdown and see what is the rating, what is the achievement to each of the competency. And the lecturer can see this according to how many competencies have been completed by the students and who has met or has not met the competency. The several slides that I have presented just now were highlighting about adaptive personalization. Here I remind you again on the challenges of adaptive personalization, which is although it allows us to set up based on the competency and set up based on the learning route, the problem can further be categorized into 4 types. First is the speed. The human creation, the algorithm, and the machine learning methods don't yet learn or deliver fast enough based on the humongous data. Then the feedback that we can give to the students are not necessarily optimized based on case-based personalization. System also do not let the users to express themselves as unique individuals, and the personalization is not much there because it is mainly on the adaptive teaching. The personalization gaps can be further explained through this by the data, which the algorithmic environment only has a limited data about the user. If the user doesn't use the system, maybe the PDF file from one friend to another, and some students did not log into the system. This does not indicate that the students didn't learn. The students learned it, but the system did not capture this. In terms of the action, the desired action versus the provided functions, whether sometimes the students are not happy, but there are no way for them to indicate it. In terms of the computing, the today's faster system is still slow when trying to understand the complexity of an individual, and individualized learning is still a very complicated process. In terms of the content, there is still some more needs to be able to have resource diversity and volume, and the conflicting interests of the users. Some users or some platforms and third party would like to recommend the solution, but which interests and preferences to prioritize? Is it for the students? Is it the platform that we want to choose? Or is it the third party actors? For example, the governance, or for example, the administrator in the university. And all these also relate to the discovery paradox, whether we can serve one learning content based on the personal existing preferences versus new discovery. All these are the basic issues of personalization gaps. There are more papers that look also into the how to understand the implementation of personalized learning, and this paper categorized based on these 4. The content areas addressed in the personalized learning can be into adaptive technologies or strategy, the learning preference-based personalization strategy, or the mobile learning system, as well as the learning management system and multimedia tools. You can go and read this paper if you're interested. Then you would look into the existing works on the policy or initiative that schools and countries work into impacting personalization, learning personalization at school level or even at the country level beyond research. In my work, the project that I have, we focus on several things with the title Enhancing Education for Human Capital Development through Establishing Future Learning Ecosystem, where in our work, we focus on developing a framework for personalized learning, and we also use various kinds of data as well as trying to come up with a pilot of how personalized learning dashboard should be designed for the student as well as for the instructor. The benefits is as follow. We want to plan a personalized lesson. We want to be able to conduct adaptive teaching and so that learning scaffolding can take place. We have also developed 2 chatbots, and the first chatbot was to help the admission information, and the second chatbot is to teach the students in Bahasa Melayu, our national language, to teach people about AI. We had one publication previously. Please feel free to read our paper in IEEE, which we highlighted about our design on personalized learning facilitation through meaningful learning experience analysis. Allow me to share further with you on our model of ISPRO, where we created a mobile apps for the student to use, as well as in these mobile apps, it listens to the heart rate of the students, and the student can also rate their satisfaction. And the learner as well as the instructor can set their learning goals. Or there are a lot of information or data that we ingest, including learning preferences, learning competency, learning behavior, learning satisfaction, assessment records, as well as the learning materials. And our design of the engine covers the profiling of the learner, of the learning, and of the educator as well, for us to analyze and personalize by using descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, and hopefully prescriptive method. And all of the outcome from this, lecturer can further customize. So the output is that there is a dashboard where the instructor can see can monitor about the learning engagement, learning achievement, competency, performance prediction, and satisfaction prediction, as well as customize the learning plan. And we are hopeful in the future the Cikgu AI bot can be integrated as well into the dashboard. I'm going to share with you several of our paths towards the current progress. We had done several Power BI dashboard design to monitor students' performance by nationality, sponsor, gender intake program, and current GPA, for us to give recommendation on what data can be visualized and how it can be visualized. We have also compared with the manual way of analyzing results, and we compare also against the existing system that university in Malaysia has. We have developed 3 versions of ISPRO. The first version started with this one where we connected with the mobile apps and also the heartband for us to be able to analyze what is the performance and what is the satisfaction as well as the heart rate of the students when they undergo certain learning activities. We had also developed dashboards for us to visualize the students' course achievement, and we developed as well learning analytics dashboard for the achievement of program outcome. Besides that, we also develop mobile apps for lesson simulator, where it started with student lecturer creating the course and the lesson, and the student can rate the page or rate the learning materials, and then the rating report can be seen by the instructor, and the instructor can get a prediction of the performance of the students based on the rating assigned by the students. ISPRO version 2 moved into web-based, another version of web-based instructor, because we realized that it is very important for us to redesign the framework and emphasize on how the output of the learning analytics can be delivered to the instructor, so the instructor knows what to do. And our current version is version 3, where we emphasize on the illustration of personalized learning. What are the learning analytics output that can be used by instructor to provide personalized learning? We had done several small studies as well. Number one here is we use IoT, the heart band, to be able to measure the students' heart rate during online class. And the course was delivered using Google Meet in a course about a mobile application. The wristband has been distributed to the students, and we use all this, the mobile apps as well as the heartband, and we analyze each of their satisfaction as well as heart rate by undergoing different types of learning approaches or learning design. First is when the students were randomly picked to voice out their opinion, and second, when the group student is asked to work in the group and they were asked to answer the quiz and answer the case study, and at the end they rated the content delivery and engagement. So these are the outputs. So you can see some of the data here. At certain time when the students are being called to answer some question, then their heart rate will go higher out of the stress. We had also conducted focus group discussion with 9 lecturers from public university and 3 lecturers from private university to focus on the current practices and issue related to personalized learning and their expectation for future learning environment. Based on this, these are the 3 rounds. And based on this, we have identified 4 things: the current practice, the challenges, the personalized learning, and the wish list for future learning. We have also finished development of a chatbot called Cikgu AI Bot, where this is a first Malay-based chatbot, and it allows, it teaches artificial intelligence to students in Bahasa Melayu, and it implements natural language processing to help the chatbot understand the intent of the conversation. More interfaces are as shown here. In the chatbot, we have provided some a welcome screen, and we provided also personalization to the students. Students can choose the list of topics, and we provide interactive quizzes. Students can also interact via text input and personalized for self-regulated learning. The user testing, actually we have finished. This should be 100%. But I think I don't have enough time to explain about the output. We have also done expert review with these 5 experts on educational technology, applied informatics expert, the psychology expert, AI expert, and HCI expert, as well as evaluating the user experience of the Cikgu AI bot in terms of usability, functionality, personification, and conversational intelligence, where 20 students, undergraduate students, were involved in the experiment. Right, I think I have come to the nearing the end of the slot given to me. I would like to conclude that AI is bound to also impact on educational technology. We have to focus more on what the technology can achieve versus what the technology is, right? So we need to balance these two. And there is a huge potential of AI to democratize education. And technology will improve, not diminish the role of humans in teaching, but there should be a strong ethical foundation, education and regulation mechanism. And indeed, learning analytics is important as it can support better education and democratize education. As some tips of the opportunities and way forward. We have to first understand that each student or each user is different, and we have to design learning with each individual needs in mind. We have to accommodate their personal preferences and learning to provide personalized content and its presentation. And machine learning can be used to drive overall effectiveness. Machine learning can be used to provide specific content based on the needs, past performance, and individual goals. Learners can get control over their resources as well. Lecturer can customize the learning plan and track also the previous performance. And let's go, everyone, generate new content for people to use, because who knows what you have created are going to be able to personalize what other people need. These are some references that I used, and special thanks to the Ministry of Higher Education for sponsoring the project and my wonderful team. If you're interested to know more about the project, please feel free to contact me at nurfadlina@upm.edu.my. That's all for now. Thank you. Hello? Is the host there?
Yes, thank you so much, ma'am. Your wonderful presentations. We learned from you how the education systems are adapted with our new technologies through the chatbots and other learning management systems. From your presentations, we learned competitive learnings and adaptive learnings, those things. I hope the participants, you also learned something from our today's keynote speaker. Thank you so much, ma'am. Your valuable times and wonderful presentation. Thank you so much.
All right, welcome.
Dear participants, the next session is started at 12 o'clock, is keynote 5. Dr. Chonglik Park joined with us at 12 o'clock in Malawian time. I pasted the YouTube link in your chat box, so kindly join with us. Thank you so much. And followed by this event, another the third session of the paper presentations will be carried out as the internal venues. Thank you so much.